to our guest speaker, I just want to introduce now social innovation, because in South Africa we've done it, and so we've grown into this practice now for the last 20 years. I'm just saying, if we start thinking, would our impact not increase? Okay, so I don't know what happened to this thing now. But what I'm going to ask you, if you can just go to social innovation in your box. Ah, thank you, thank you. Okay, because you will see, as you develop your theory of practice, your theory of change, as you start doing research, innovation is, I almost want to say, for me, or that was my experience, a natural progression. Okay? Because I now learn more, because I look at development differently. So social innovation is really about looking at being more strategic, more ambitious, more collaborative in how we access and opportunity can be provided to billions of people. It's not new thinking. I'm going to share with you some models. What distinguishes social innovation from traditional business approaches is the pursuit of solving social challenges in ways that create tangible benefits. Okay? So social innovation is directly linked. I find in a lot of companies where it happens quicker is if they've got an innovative mindset. Innovation happens easier. It leverages a company's core assets, such as human capital, their value chain, their technology. If you think about the case study of Nestlé and shared value, it was focused on the distribution. It was, so they had an asset that they want to extrapolate, to create more value from. It is managed from within a company's core operations, and it is really, they use social innovation as a competitive differentiation, to be different, to look at different solutions, to create different values, future economic value. So there's a whole host of terminologies that has emerged in the space of social innovation. Social capital, I've explained to you already yesterday, is the capacity of individuals and business organizations to access resources through social networks of trust, reciprocity, and information. Social enterprises is classified within the space of social innovation. Shared value is part of this new language that we speak. And then social innovation are ideas, practices that challenges the status quo to catalyze systemic social change. And more definitions: inclusive economy, circular economy, social economy, conscious capital, shared or blended value, social enterprises, socio-economic enterprise investment and development, impact investment, socially responsible investment, impact investment, collective impact. There's a whole new world outside. And that is, because we haven't defined it as a specific discipline, it now becomes part of a universe of innovation. Okay. So let me give you a case study. So here's Kiva. It's one of the biggest social investors. Remember, I'm using the word not necessarily corporate social investment. I'm speaking about social investors in the world. They're very active in Africa, outside of South Africa. Okay, and so they used to make, they still make donations and investments, but they have already gone to microloans. Okay, so the repayment of that microloan funds the next round of entrepreneurs. So they don't go back to the corporate and say, give me more money, I want to fund more entrepreneurs. If it's sustainable, it will become self-funded. Can you see what I'm saying? So they really distinguish between donations, investments, microloans to fuel that. Yes, they're not going to charge those people, those poor little community women groups, 48% interest. Seriously not. But there is at least a return on investment. So they then also go up their own because of the impact, because of the results, because of the return on investment, because of the repayment value. Investors come to them and said, can I be part of this process? So they're not only dependent on what their donor gives them. It's actually leverage more funding. And they're selling research to provide more additional. So they've become kind of experts in microfinancing, women empowerment. It's a beautiful story. I'm just saying they do the same thing that we do, but they've just applied sustainability kind of systems behind it. So here's Kiva, if you want to search for them, and here's Grameen. Now we all know the whole beautiful story about Grameen, and where they started was also a microfinancing kind of model. But I want to talk about new distribution models in this regard. So we've looked at a new funding kind of income-based investment, and here they don't just focus on this NGO, the trap that we fell into South Africa. So they actually, the people that have become empowered, become the partners. So it's not an outsourced model, it's an integrated model. So here's the thing. So they've got a partner network, there's R1 million. We're going to give it to this women's group, this cooperative, or what we want to call it. But we're not going to sell this microfinance, this microloans. We're empowering women to become financially educated. So we're going to turn them into microfinanciers. I'm just saying, we're actually implementing, we're using what we created then. You want to empower? Empower people to the fullest. So if you create businesses, that's where the power is going to lie. So they use those businesses, they use the businesses that they funded to become micro-lenders. Why? Because they stay in the same town. They stay in the same community. We've bought my cow this month, okay? I've paid back my loan, but maybe I can borrow my cow to you to mate with your cow. I'm just saying, there's so many permutations in this model. I've made my money. I've used my cow. I've raised my cow. I got the milk out of the cow. I've got the skin out of the cow. I've done all sorts of things for my cow. Now I'm going to sell it to the slaughter. I get enough money to buy 2 cows now. If we want to follow the story of empowerment, we have to follow it right through. So here's a difference by actually using your beneficiaries to actually implement the rest of your program. So here's another one. So we all build capacity. Okay, so we built the capacity of home-based carers. These people who go from home to home, they're going to check your blood pressure, they're going to give you your tablets, they're going to check that you're okay. We've already capacitated them. How are we going to make it sustainable? If I'm a pharmaceutical, well, here's your medicine, I'm going to sell it now. Can you see what I'm saying? So we've already capacitated people to go from home to care for people. What is the income opportunity? If those patients can't pay for the service, I'm telling you now, there's a lot of pharmaceutical companies that's looking for new door-to-door distribution models. Let me give you a beautiful case study. There's a guy in Cape Town on a bicycle, which is now a social entrepreneur. He has to go and collect his money, his medicine, every month from the clinic. Guess what? He passes 200 other patients on his way. For 20 cents, on his way there, he'll go and get yours and bring yours. 200 times 20 cents? I'm just saying, We've set up specific infrastructure processes, systems, to affect social change. How do we inject the secret sauce, the economic aspect in it? You can look at the guy with the bicycle, Google that if you go home, and there's the same guy that's doing the same with spinach. It's called the Spinach King. Same, exact, a guy on a bicycle. I'm just saying, you've done the food system. He's grown the spinach. He's got enough spinach for himself. He sold so much spinach, he was able to buy a bicycle. He's using the bicycle to deliver the spinach. He's turned it into a brand. And a lot of retailers are finding him at the moment. The Spinach King. So the point that I want to make is, how do we take capacity development into an income generating stream? If we've educated people in health, in primary health care, if we've trained nurses, how do we use that skill for them to generate income? Okay, so this is one of the models that I'm looking at. Then also, based on, as I told you, last year was really the year of food security. Anybody did something in food. So what we have seen is, and this speaks to typically the kind of food security or increased access to food security, what we've seen is, now that they've grown the pumpkins and the spinach, their access to food increased, their health increased, their nutrition increased. We then see the retailers stepping in to buy surplus. I've told you the case study of ShopRite Checkers. So it's a local procurement strategy. It is a production. Some of them use them in a production capacity. Let me give you, again, let's talk about the Nestlé shared value. So they have harvested the produce. Here's the biggest problem in Africa. We grow things and then we export things and we bring it back as a produced product. So the question is, therefore, particularly in food, can you add value in that stream? So one of the biggest things, who spoke about aquaculture? Specifically in aquaculture, there's a massive food production opportunity here. If they grow pumpkins, is there no way you can make roast pumpkins, pumpkin juice, canned pumpkins, pumpkin skills? Think about the stuff you buy at Woolworths with these little pumpkins that have been grilled, which is now a health food. I'm just saying, think past giving them pumpkins. Because if you add value, you create a production. You really want to create jobs, you set up a factory. Are you getting my drift here? So don't just fund the food program. Think about building a production, local production factory in that community. And then, of course, the nutrition and health and all that goes with that. Okay, so one of the next ones, and so that's why I've kept all the case studies here, and I've just tried to put my little comment on it so that you can go back to them. And then the next one that is financial services, because it just so happened that I worked a lot in that space. Specifically, this whole philosophy about the unbanked and creating financial inclusivity and financial equality, again, these big suitcase words we use. Based on the assumption that we think communities are so poor, that's why they need us. Let me just tell you, there is a lot of assets in communities. Remember, it's a cash-based society. There's so much cash in communities. Think about how you can utilize stokvels. We're now too scared to charge 20 cents for a holiday camp over 3 weeks. Yet, those people have got enough money to buy airtime. I'm just putting it out there. The telecoms companies don't think we've got poor communities because they make so much money out of them. I'm just saying, maybe you should ask R2 a week as a contribution. You create a savings pool. You then if it's a youth camp, you say, okay, what business can we start with 200 of us, 2 rands? Guys, if we want to promote entrepreneurship, if we've got the kids there, if we've got a revenue source, I'm just saying integrate different development aspects. I'm not asking you to rip off your poor little communities. I'm just saying your first assumption that communities are so poor is wrong. Because I've got enough evidence to show you there's a lot of cash in communities. So the point that I want to make here is, can you use that 200 rand or the 200 students 2 rands to start a micro business so that you teach the youth how to invest, how to start businesses, how to lend money, how to teach them about compound interest? Because it's their money. Imagine if you say to them, because you want to teach them saving, financial literacy, you're going to pay 2 rand for the 3-week camp for 2 rand a week. It's 6 rand. At the end of the week, we're going to give you 7 rand back. Because we're going to show you how money works. I just want you to think differently. Money doesn't have to be a swear word. And if we negate the value of our services, we actually discount ourselves out of a development cycle. So that's the point that I want to make here. So what we're also seeing is that think communities buy something, you invest it in that community so that they can share in the collective benefit. We've looked at lending, we've looked at investment, we looked at financial literacy, we looked at inclusiveness, we looked at affordable housing. Let's talk about housing. You know, I always look at Habitat for Humanity. They come here, they build a house, and they gift it to a person. So now we're trying to assess the impact of the gift of the house. And I can tell you from security and crime went down and all these beautiful things. But by negating the value of that house to 0, there's a different kind of relationship that happens here. So if we then do these team building, house building things, wouldn't we be better off? Yes, we're going to build the first house because we want to take the corporate pictures for the annual report, and everybody wants to have a nice time out of town, and you know, all the good things, the team building has happened. But before we leave with a finished house, shouldn't we leave enough building materials for the next house? So if I got a house, my objective is to help you build a house. We're not asking, if you don't want to pay me 100 rand for the house, but that 100 rand is going to help your next door neighbor. I'm just saying, instead of giving people stuff. The time, in my opinion, has come that we've actually got to think about development differently. And then the next one, I've spoken about quality health. I just want to finish the story on quality health. This woman, this young girl, she's 24 years old. She's the prettiest little thing that I've ever seen. Guys, she's running 200 clinics. Soweto, Khayelitsha, Diepsloot, Alex. For ordinary people like us. But instead of paying 2,000 rand a month medical aid or go and sit in a queue, people find the money to pay 50 rand to go to a clinic, to get diagnosed, and to get their disciplines, and to get a doctor's letter. There's this middle market. We think everybody's equally poor. It's not true. So I've always been challenged. When I started the Shuttleworth Foundation, here was the challenge that Mark gave me. Because I got so overwhelmed with helping the poor people. He challenged me one day and he said to me, what if we focus on people that are half empowered to accelerate the pace of development than trying over 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 years to bring about a change? So I'm just saying, we've got into the trap of poor mentality, that we think all people are either rich or poor. There is development opportunity in a middle market where we can accelerate. The moment they empower it, they create the next level of jobs, they create the next revenue streams, they can help pay for the next services. So I just want to put a different spin. So this is the thing that I wanted to say about social enterprises, social entrepreneurs. I really want to encourage you to look at that. I know you're not set up to fund social entrepreneurs, only NGOs. But I really want to say to you, there's exhilarated change. And this is the discussion we had over lunch. The fact that there's a 0 at the end of 12 months does not qualify you necessarily as an NGO. I'm an entrepreneur, I know. The fact that they say 0 just doesn't mean I'm paying dividends or I'm paying tax this year. So that automatically qualifies me as an NGO. NGOs make provision for research and buildings and assets. So I'm just putting it out there. So in closing, because I just want to give Shana an opportunity to come and close today for us. The point that I just wanted to make is, when you leave here at the end of tomorrow, can you relook at your theory of change? Can you relook at your theory of practice? And just think, you don't have to be a big risk taker. I'm a risk taker. I'm an entrepreneur. You know, I will change the world. Not all of you have that luxury. But is there ways and means you can just extend impact, just extend return, just try on, even if it's pilots, new innovative approaches? Because there's amazing stuff happening out there.